How to Create a Glitch Monologues Season 17 Chapter 8. This is Season 17 of How to Create a Glitch in the Matrix Monologues Episode 8. In this episode, we will be talking about the impact of labor mobility, immigration and technology on the emotional calibration of a population. In past episodes, we intimated that ultimately the movement of peoples throughout history have had a profound impact on the system as a whole. To explain, although there are indeed superficial gateways created by local phenomenon, objects and common orientations, the deeper, more substantive gateways that exist between people are cultural. Essentially, what I am proposing is the following: the culturally intrinsic components of our common experience segregate peoples, regardless of where they reside. Let's take an example. Imagine that you are a laborer, a leatherworker, living in a distant country. You live on a plot of land owned by your ancestors going back 1,000 years. Imagine that your trade is one that has been passed down from father to child for 1,000 years. Every small nuance of behavior, every tiny skill that you possess has been honed by 1,000 years of trial, error, and intergenerational practice. Imagine that your ancestors lived in the same village, that they connected with monuments and historical events, even trees, in common for much of that period. Imagine that they identify according to a given class, which provides for similar experiences relative to other classes. Then imagine one day you decide to immigrate to a foreign country, say North America, USA or Canada. Your children are now in an entirely new environment, with no common signposts, monuments or even classes. Even the food you eat is different. All of the myriad commonalities between yourself and your ancestors is cast aside by the next generation. There is a dislocation to this act, a segregation, a discontinuity, such that your children lack the common experiences by profession, land, or culture that you do with your ancestors. Now, let's return to emotional calibration. If you remember, the concept of emotional calibration was that individuals are calibrated to repeat a particular era in history by their common rationalization. This can occur through older generations, or it can occur top-down through the culture. Now, how does the older generation calibrate you when you possess none of the common signposts which rendered your culture continuous? The answer is, the dislocated continuities, such as food and religion, remain the few avenues through which you can live the intergenerational patterns of your ancestors. Your children are in effect disconnected, rendered discontinuous, through their ability to form gateways with you and your place of origin. Thus, the patterns of labor mobility and immigration uproot the ancestral narratives, mythologies and symbolism of one's people and leave one exposed to trends within culture and society. To reiterate, the deeper gateways, the ones which harken back 1,000 years, relate to signposts, symbols, mythology, which is no longer within your common orientation. All of the key components, the fabric, which your ancestors used to orient themselves, is gone, leaving only the most superficial of gateways, those created by everyday experience in your new home. This is not to say that you cannot continue to form archetypal gateways with your children, just as your ancestors did with you, but the content of that experience, much of it anyway, is no longer common, which means that your ability to implicate those memories, those experiences, in your children is no longer present. In effect, it is as if there are fissures and plates within the collective unconscious created by immigration, migration and labor mobility. To put it another way, imagine that all the levels or plates of a person from spatial to esoteric are enmeshed by the torsion of history. Now, imagine that you were to uproot your family, dislocate it from its collective history, and you are left, rather like a weed with shallow roots, subject to the strains and winds of the open air. If I could hypothesize a visual representation of this principle, it would be that of a puzzle. That new place where you reside is composed and in fact built, maintained, by peoples from all over the world, and all those memories which give commonalities, the deep ones are different, rendering the social system created by that system constructed upon the commonalities that step beyond family, culture or people. The gateways become weaker, which means that possibility of dialectical associations becomes more likely. and the social economy becomes even more important to the outcomes of sociality. That's the end of the podcast for today. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment and subscribe.